All right, hold on. Here we go.
Oh no, what's happening? What's going on? Oh, Tony, you're back.
Yeah, I'm back, man. Yeah.
Thank goodness. I was so worried.
Yeah, I know. I know that you had a busy week and everything, and I had to leave for a little while because I was feeling like really overwhelmed and overwhelmed. Yeah, people have been saying it wrong all this time. By the way, it's overwhelmed.
Tell me, why were you overwhelmed?
Well, I was overwhelmed because my throat was parched. It was parched.
Ooh, you never want that.
I don't want that. I need to stay healthy. I need to stay active. And this is what I was looking for.
Oh my gosh, it was right there the whole time.
It was there the whole time.
It just goes to tell you stuff. Like when you stop your search, you'll find that what you always needed was here all along.
Yeah, it's a life lesson. And, you got to remember that this, I don't know if I told you about this. This is a water bottle.
I've never heard of this.
You never heard of this?
Bottle? Water bottle?
Water bottle. Water bottle.
Putting a little zhuzh on it.
Sure, whatever that word was. This is TK's water bottle, and it's changed my life. When I have it, but I lose it pretty often.
Tell me about the miraculous benefits of TK water bottles.
Well, the miraculous benefits are as follows: you have something to hold your water. It always keeps it at a certain temperature that you want, usually cold if you like it cold. I'm not sure about hot, but sometimes I wish that I had like tea to carry around too, but I could never. Oh, look at that.
What?
Look at that.
Solving both of your life problems right here at your desk. This is what our podcast is about.
Oh my God. It's all about this. This company is amazing. This is TK tea bottle. And, if I ever lose my tea, I have that there.
Secret tea compartment.
It's secret tea compartment. And I also, I contacted the manufacturer, Travis William Larry Kemp, and he, when he ordered the bottles from a third party, he listened to one other advertisement that someone recorded, and he noticed that I noticed that. And he goes, "Oh yeah, I used to think that people were smuggling drugs as well." So I thought that we were gonna get, I thought he was gonna get mad and we were gonna get in trouble for that. But he said no, it was fine. So
we haven't been canceled. So
we haven't been canceled. Yeah, and 2021, if you're not canceled, that's pretty impressive. So if you ever want to pick up one of these products, if you like tea or if you like water. In this video, we're going to have in the info an Amazon link where you can pick both of those up, and it'll change your life, and you can thank me later.
There you go. Proclaim it from the mountaintops.
From the mountaintops.
The water bottle evangelist is here to help you out.
Now, I know that last recording, not for this series, but for a different series, that my mic was pretty low, so... I'm looking at the levels and I'm doing okay. I just can't
They're
be
juicy.
I just can't be too excited because I know that it's going to do
I'll
other
fix it
things.
in post.
Yeah. Actually, just one moment. My roommate just walked in. I have to let.
Does he have water bottles too?
I gotta find out if you do.
How am I missing out on all these water bottles?
Yo, roommate. I forgot. I got several roommates. One's a cat. And he wants out. 1 second. I'm just going to open the door real quick.
Come on back, cat.
Just to let
you can be part of our podcast. We need your perspective on WandaVision. Tell us all about your theories. Is it going to be Wanda? Is it going to be Vision? Is it going to be WandaVision?
I think it is. It's going to be WandaVision. But this week, we are talking about episode 4, which I believe is called We Interrupt
This Program.
Great title.
Which is exactly what this episode felt like.
Absolutely. It felt like a very big interruption. Basically, it was a MCU film, but in 30 minutes. And
yes.
It definitely was a surprise if you didn't watch the trailer for the next week's episode, as I did not. And it was... I thought it was fair. I thought it was very entertaining. The opening scene was actually one of my favorite scenes in all of MCU because it was just pandemonium of her waking up from the snapback.
Yeah. Okay. So before diving too deep in this, your initial thoughts on the episode. So you were entertained by the episode.
I like the emphasis you said on you. So
you were entertained.
I will tell you one thing. About 6 minutes into watching this episode, I was fairly entertained, but I did think of you immediately, and I'm like, oh, I don't think that Dan's going to like this episode very much. Was I right in that assessment?
I didn't dislike the episode. It's just of all of the episodes thus far, this one I cared the least about because, I don't know, it was a fine episode. It was kind of an inevitable episode. It was just, I don't know. I didn't find myself really caring about anything that happened because the episode essentially exists to confirm suspicions. And I have a feeling that this is going to be kind of the turning point where the series starts to gain momentum and becomes more about, I don't know, we're moving into Act 2 for sure.
For sure. And it's a plunge, it's a catapult into Act 2.
It's a catapult into Act 2. So it's an episode that serves a lot of function. I just think that it lacks all the voice and style of the show up until this point.
It is kind of a sort of speed bump, especially if you thoroughly enjoy the sitcom aspect of everything. And it's not necessarily a bad thing because it definitely settles down the haters of this, like, what's going on thing. And even though there are a lot of shows that will have an episode where we veer away from the main characters and we're looking at what's going on over here instead of focusing on what's going on in front of us. It was entertaining, but it was probably definitely my least favorite episode.
Yeah, give us an overview so that we can anybody who maybe hasn't had the chance to watch it or hasn't watched it in a hot second has an idea of what we're talking about.
The overview of the episode is Geraldine's character, played by, I believe, Teyonah Parris. Am I correct?
Well, that would be dependent on me having already pulled up probably important information that I should have had ready before the show.
It is Teyonah Parris. So Teyonah Parris, Teyonah Parris's character, as we did know as Geraldine, it focuses on her, but now she is Monica Rambeau. And Monica Rambeau,
spelled Rambeau, to just give it a little sophistication, not to be confused with Sly Stallone's infamous character.
And throughout the episode, people will shout out Rambeau, Rambeau, and all I was waiting for was what? Huh? Oh, wrong set, my bad. But no, so we focus more on Rambeau's character, and Rambeau's character. We start off in events that happen before the events that we see in WandaVision that we have seen so far. Now, throughout it, she is somewhat the star, but about halfway through, she kind of disappears a little bit. But one thing that's not it is important. The opening scene would be confusing to anyone that has not watched any of the MCU films.
Yes.
And what you should know watching this episode is beforehand, there was a little bit of a disruption in the universe where half of the population of the entire universe disappeared with a snap.
Which they're now calling the snap. Yes.
And they are brought back by another snap that they call the blip, which I've always hated that. I didn't like that. That's a weird name for them coming back. But in any case, we open up with Rambeau going from dust to herself. And she wakes up in a hospital and she has no idea what's going on. And she's running around this hospital, and in her hospital room when she woke up, there's no one in the bed, and everyone's freaking out. And she's trying to find help, and people. And I remember one doctor, he's like, they're all coming back. We have no room. I gotta go. And she can't talk to anyone. And she eventually speaks with a doctor. Is like, where have you been? And she goes, I was just there. You were going to discharge my mom today. Her cancer left. Where is she? And unfortunately, the doctor had to tell her, no, your mom died 2 years ago. And she goes, no, you were going to discharge her today. So for one thing, it's pretty ironic that they would do that. They really tortured the character from... In Rambeau's mind, she went from great news to pandemonium, the great news of her mom being alive and being healthy, to, oh no, it's 5 years later and your mom died 2 years ago. So of course she's very, very confused. So that was
that moment was my favorite part of the episode.
Absolutely. Same
for
here.
Sure.
Besides Agent Wu, which we will get to very, very soon. But so we now learn who Sword is. Now, back in the WandaVision world of the sitcom, we saw these little symbols of swords, and we never knew exactly what it was. But now it is revealed that SWORD is an organization very similar to S.H.I.E.L.D. in the MCU universe, which would technically be me saying Marvel Cinematic Universe. So in the MCU, and SWORD is the sentient weapon observation.
Come on, you got it. Because I don't. Because
response.
Silliness.
Sentient weapon observation response task force? Probably not task force. Team.
SWORD?
Yeah, something like that. Whatever it is. It's basically
some kind of
S.H.I.E.L.D.
silliness. It's right. They just needed an organization that would be the complement or antithesis to S.H.I.E.L.D. and they came up with some silly name for it, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
they're just like, move on from it. That's gibberish.
Yeah, it's definitely gibberish. But in any case, it's very similar to S.H.I.E.L.D. and we learn that so in the MC universe, I am allowed to say that, technically Rambeau's character was introduced in the Captain Marvel film, and in Captain Marvel, Captain Marvel's best friend has a daughter who is actually Teyonah Parris's character, but as a child, because that character was introduced in the 90s because that's when Captain Marvel was set. But now we're in 2021 or whatever year that that WandaVision takes place in, because the snap happened technically 5 years ago.
Okay, so that's the connection. I was trying to figure it out. I recognized there's the briefest of allusions to Monica's mother being one of the founders of SWORD, and just because you see her face on like a plaque in SWORD's facility. So I didn't quite put that connection together, but I knew that she was connected from one of these movies at some point. Yes,
and in the beginning of the episode when Monica is being snapped back, you hear audio of Captain Marvel, and you hear Captain Marvel calling her Lieutenant Trouble. And that was like a little more of a clue of this is the little girl from Captain Marvel. And from her walking around the facility of SWORD, we go through quite a bit of exposition, and that exposition is that I believe that she's an astronaut. I'm not positive, but in any case, she was a very important agent of SWORD, and she worked for her mother, and this captain of sorts that's explaining all of this is the acting captain, and I'm probably not using the right rank, but the head of SWORD right now.
Director Hayward.
Correct. Director Hayward, and goes, oh, you're the director now. Acting director. And someone that I spoke about this with, Jonathan, said, do you think he's acting a captain because he's taking over for Nick Fury as he's on vacation? I'm like, oh, I didn't think about that. So that could be a little nod to Nick Fury, and who knows, Nick Fury may show up later. But in any case, we know that Monica's mother, Maria, had passed a few years ago, but she put in place a protocol for everybody coming back, because mostly for her daughter, and that protocol is to ground all agents that come back from the snap. And now she is tasked with a missing persons case where they are trying to find someone. And actually, I don't know what particular person is missing, and that's probably important, actually. But she shows up at this town, and we meet Agent Woo. For Monica, this is the first time meeting him. But for the fans of MCU, we have met Agent Woo in the Ant-Man films.
Okay.
Very, very. You didn't know.
I watched the first one. I haven't seen Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Oh,
or no, I actually did, and I fell asleep during Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Rewatch it.
So.
Both of the I enjoyed Ant-Man. I enjoyed it more the second time. Ant-Man and Wasp is actually much better the second time, in my opinion. I thought it was overrated the first time I watched it, but it's pretty good. And Agent Woo, he's in Ant-Man and the Wasp more prominently, and he's very, very funny. Now, one thing I didn't notice, that shout out to Jonathan for pointing out, was when you meet Woo, he immediately does a little magic trick to show his card. Now, you fell asleep during during Ant-Man and Wasp, but Ant-Man was learning magic tricks to entertain his daughter. And he does a magic trick of pulling a card out of thin air. And at the end of the film, he goes, "Can you teach me that trick?" And him in this WandaVision episode of him, Agent Woo, I'm with sword, is, or he's a federal agent, whatever. That is a little nod that Ant-Man taught him that trick. So that was actually really cool. That was pretty smart. But we arrive at Westview, which is where the series takes place, except the missing person Agent Woo describes, no one knows who he is. And they talk with some cops, and they're like, there is no Westview. There's an Eastview. So it's very apparent that Westview is magical, and you cannot enter it because there's some sort of feeling that you can't go in there, which is whatever. But they send the drone plane in there, which is very reminiscent of the drone plane that we saw in episode 2 in the bushes.
Mm-hmm.
And
that was
eventually,
my immediate thought when that pops up.
Eventually, Monica gets sucked into it, and we don't see her again. Then we go even more swordy, or Agent Shieldy, really. And we are introduced to Kat Dennings' character, which I do not remember her name, but the first time that fans have seen her was the Thor films, but we haven't seen her since either Thor, the Dark...
Oh, is that her? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was the comic relief in the Thor films. And
Darcy.
But she wasn't in Thor 3, but she was. We either last saw her in the Dark World or in the first Avengers film. I'm not positive. In either case, there's more of a focus on her, and we realize that she has the ability to use some sort of technology that they briefly explain to come up with a TV screen of this sitcom aspect that us, the viewers at home, can view. And they watch the series, and they notice that it's Wanda and Vision, and she says, now correct me if I'm wrong, I know the last few years have been pretty crazy, but isn't Vision dead? They're like, that's weird. So they slowly build this board of people where they identify, which, by the way, was a pretty funny scene, because they're like, oh, Thomas Harris, put him on the board. Oh, Jane Doe, put her on the board. And I always found it funny in these scenes where you have a giant, like 100 extras, like acting like they're working, have no speaking roles. And production wise, that's to save money, because if you get a speaking role, then you have to get more money. But the only people that are identifying these people are Agent Woo, Kat Dennings' character, and like one other guy. But what are all these other people doing?
Their scenery.
They're scenery.
There
They're
to
flipping knobs and shit. Yeah, I thought that was funny.
That's like so many Marvel moments in S.H.I.E.L.D. or any compound.
This was such a Marvel episode that it was sickening.
Yeah, it was.
In any case, eventually they don't explain anything about these other patrons of the town. But when we first arrived at the town with Monica, Westview's population was in about 3,000, give or take. And what we are led to assume is that all these people that they're identifying are residents of Westview, maybe not. But my theory is that if Vision is dead, then maybe all these other characters are dead. That would explain last episode where the neighbors said, it's because we're all. So that's possible. And one thing that pisses me off is as they're trying to figure this out, they're watching the show, and one of these very, very questionable commercials come on. They're like, well, let's talk about other stuff over here. It's like, no, let's watch these episodes or these commercials. These are very, very important, more than likely. We learn that they figure out a way to contact Wanda, or at least try to, through a radio, which we see the scene from episode 2 where a mysterious voice is heard through the radio, which we are now revealed to be Agent Wu trying to contact Wanda. And as they're watching the program, a weird jump cut happens. What we have seen is the glass exploding in her hand and she's bleeding red. The agents of S.W.O.R.D. did not see that. So I believe that this is a clue that we discussed this, that I asked, do you think that Wanda made that glass explode? When that glass exploded, the agents didn't see it. We saw it. So I'm assuming that anything that Wanda changes via this or Monica's disappearance, which we'll discuss later, that when she changes that, the agents can't see it. So
right. That's kind of confirmed in the previous episode. There was this entire encounter between Wanda confronting Geraldine or Monica, and we saw that kind of play out in the episode. And in this, we see from the S.W.O.R.D. agent's perspective that there's just this little editing blip. So it's basically Wanda altering what she doesn't want.
Correct.
To see.
And Kat Dennings' character says, who's censoring this? So the censor is Wanda. And this also makes me feel stronger that in the first episode when Vision's boss started choking, that Wanda made him choke so that they would stop trying to figure out how they got to town. In any case, later on, they see Monica's character in like the background reading a newspaper, and the agent and Kat Dennings' character look and they're like, she seems okay, which raises more questions about whether or not Monica is either playing along in this town or if she has her memory altered to a way where she actually believes that she's in the town. More than likely she's playing along and eventually gaining Wanda's trust, but they later become friends and they watch it. And one thing that is kind of fun is there's a scene where Agent Wu and Kat Dennings' character watch the sitcom. They're like, wow. And they're like basically eating popcorn. Like, wow, I can't believe they're having a baby. I love this show. And that was like pretty cute.
Sit in for the audience, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And they notice that there's a weird jump cut when they mention Ultron. And alarms go off and there is a perimeter breach. And then we do that really cool effect where we slowly pan into the TV screen that they run away from. The screen ratio changes and we see a scene that we have not seen before. And that is the end of the confrontation between Monica, aka Geraldine, and Wanda after the "Who are you? Who are you?" And we see Wanda go full Scarlet Witch, start going, "You don't belong, you're an outsider, my voice has changed." And she hits her back, which was a pretty cool effect of her going through the walls to outside the town, which is really, really cool. But after that, Wanda kind of stands there and she does that thing that I'm always noticing where she's like, whoa, I got these powers. It still seems like she's forgetting what's going on herself. She covers the evidence. Vision walks in. And when she turns around to look at him, we see dead Vision. His Mind Stone's gone. He's gray, and it is a very grave image. Made me very, very depressed.
Yes.
We see that twice. So what I'm led to assume is that Vision is still super dead, but sentient somehow. And when we see that 2 shots of it, she looks again, and he is normal as can be. He's red and the Mind Stone's there. So it makes me wonder what the entire town looks like, if it's as gray as his dead corpse, and if all these other people are dead as well.
Yeah, and it's shortly just after that the episode wraps up, picking back up with Monica being kicked out of this fabricated universe, and she says it's Wanda, it's all Wanda, which confirms pretty much everything that we've been talking about. I will say the incident with Vision and Monica or Wanda's ability to remember and conveniently forget makes me think that, as confirmed, like this is a world being created by her. And I think that she's trying to willfully forget what happened to Vision because she can't process it. So the truth creeping back in leads her to exile Monica from her little universe where everything is as she wants it to be, the life that she can't have.
Correct. And even though she cleaned up this evidence pretty well by getting rid of Monica, by cleaning up these broken walls, there is one issue that the audience sees, and that is Vision is starting to look concerned. He knows something is up. And Paul Bettany's acting was really, really good. When they sit on the couch and he goes to put his arm around her, he does one little look to the right, and then Wanda looks at him and he puts on a smile. And the way that he looks at the TV screen is with uncertainty. So now we know that Vision is starting to figure out that something's amiss, that Wanda is in full control, and that the agents of S.W.O.R.D. now know what's going on. But we don't know what's going on with the commercials, so I do think that even though Wanda's in full control and she's doing it for Vision, that something else is up. I'm telling you, she made a deal with Hydra somehow, I think. In either case.
Yeah. In either case, one other thing that's revealed in this episode, which I think will be pertinent to the series, is that when the drone goes in, it goes in a drone and it shows up in the bushes as a little toy helicopter. A S.W.O.R.D. agent goes in with a hazmat suit, and when he breaches this bubble, it comes out a beekeeper's suit. So the universe within this bubble is like physically altering the things that enter it.
Yeah, it makes him appear as something else that would fit these sitcoms years. Also, the agents of S.W.O.R.D. have realized, like, are we still in the 60s? And they realize that it's in the 70s. So they know that time is going differently there than it is here, at least aesthetics-wise. Also, I believe that we are going to go back to regular WandaVision sitcom. I hope not. I hope that we don't see what S.W.O.R.D. is doing. I hope we go back to the regular viewing. Like, I hope I hope the next episode is we have fixed the connection, the program or something.
Yeah.
But I do believe that we are going to have main focus back into Wanda and Vision into Westview, with Vision figuring out more things. Hopefully we don't see much more of S.W.O.R.D., but I do believe if they do it that way, that 2 or 3 episodes down the line, we're going to have another episode very similar to this where Monica explains everything.
Yep. I would say that trajectory sounds pretty right to me. So I'm glad that we spent plenty of time outlining the cliff notes of the episode, because as for execution, I just don't have a lot to say about it. It was a very functional episode. Honestly, I liked this conversation more than I liked the episode, because I like the speculation.
There's nothing special. There's no substance to it, really.
Yeah, it's
just plot.
It's just plot. It's just kind of confirming a lot of suspicions in very one-to-one ways without necessarily opening up further questioning. If anything, it's just taking a lot of the fun time that we had speculating and just sort of putting a button on it. as if to enter a new chapter. But on top of that, everything involving the Sword and the agents was so flat. I thought these performances were just not good.
What about Agent Wu?
No, I couldn't stand him. Like it's just that he's so vanilla. Everybody in this is so vanilla.
Cut it. Production engineer. Cut it.
I don't like Kat Dennings or Darcy.
I don't like Kat Dennings.
No,
I don't. I've never liked Kat Dennings.
Kind of obnoxious, like pluckiness with obvious jokes from these characters. I thought that director Hayward was pretty much just a walking jar of mayonnaise.
Yes, absolutely.
I was just eager to get back to the style and substance of the previous episodes as they were so far. And maybe I'm in the minority here because as I look on IMDb, this episode has the highest ratings of the whole show. And from what I can tell, it looks like as the show has progressed on and become a little more Marvel centric, the audience seems to respond better to that. So I kind of suspect that's probably where the rest of the show is headed. I hope, like you said, we at least get, a couple more episodes that hop back into the world of WandaVision and they're back and forth and kind of playing with genre, because just everything outside of that with Sword was just the tapioca Disney, just really safe and not showing their hand too fast, but also just spending so much of this time like confirming things that we probably could have been drip fed a little bit more. It was, I don't know. It was just a functional episode to me.
It was. It seemed like it was an arm wrestle between the showrunner, who was like, "No, let's keep the slow burn. Let's keep the slow burn." And and I'm sure that all of these episodes were filmed a while ago, but it was as if that, even though I stay away from articles, the population complained about, well, I want to know what's going on now. I don't care about the sitcom stuff. I hate the audience and blah, 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 blah. And they wanted this. They wanted a full explanation. They didn't want any mystery. They wanted everything now. And it was not executed very well. It was somewhat... I was entertained by Agent Wu. I like Teyonah Parris's... I like her character a lot, and I think we'll see it a lot more in future projects, because apparently in the comic book she's very important. But in any case, it was extremely flat, as you said. Just because you answer questions doesn't mean I'm going to like the show more. If anything, I appreciate a slow burn, and you guys just blew out the candle. But I know that there's still a little bit spark left. So as long as they keep that spark going and not just conform to what general audiences want, which I guess is unfair to say, because as a production, especially a Disney production, they want money and they want everyone to enjoy it as much as possible. And sadly, the population likes this type of, hey, we're not going to do any tricks. We're not going to do anything really cool. We're just going to show you what you want. And yeah, it was disappointing in the fact that it seemed like they gave up the slow burn. But like I said, I do think that these commercials I really do think that that's very, very important. And I think that is something left to reveal, and that they purposely didn't have the Sword agent to talk about it in this episode, because that is something to look forward to. And I believe that this is somewhat of a Kansas City shuffle, where you're looking over here and seeing Wanda controls everything, but there is something else going on over here, I hope. But in either case, as long as they go back to what it was, and fine, have the MCU stuff. It's just, luckily, seeing Paul Bettany's incredible acting at the end of looking suspicious, it adds more conflict, as opposed to Wanda bad now, we need to stop her. But this creates really great really great conflict with Vision's character, because I know what I'm assuming is it's going to come to a point with Wanda, you gotta. There's a tornado going on.
Yeah,
and she's
exactly. We have a full
Magneto style
Jean Grey moment end of X-Men 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and you gotta stop this, Wanda. No, I love you. I can't do it anymore. And he'll die again.
Yeah, I know. I'm counting down to that exact scene too, and I was thinking about that through this conversation. It's just that this episode was one that, you know, I kind of anticipated coming along, where it just kind of smells more of like Disney boardroom design by committee rather than a specific artistic voice that the rest of the show had so far. So, and true to Disney form, like it's not unpleasant in the slightest. I just think that it loses the sparkle and the kind of magic that the show had up until this point. So I didn't by any means think it was bad. It was just something that was kind of there. And I'm really hoping that we get back to a little of that, more of that idiosyncratic kind of voice from the first 3 episodes.
Yeah, after watching the episode, I knew that recording this, I would have to go over more of what happened than what I thought of it, because I have not much to say about it except, cool, you catered to people that don't like anything but explain to me what's going on. But, I mean, hey, at least we got... I don't know what we got. We got all right. So the biggest positives, I think, were Paul Bettany's acting, Teyonah Parris's character being fleshed out to someone that's rounded, that has actually a very good backstory, an excellent opening scene, and a really, really dark vision of Vision being dead. But besides that, and Agent Woo, because cool people like Agent Woo. But yeah,
it was part of the bad boys then. I'm on the outside.
Yeah, we're bad boys.
Don't like Agent Woo. Yeah. No, okay, so complete speculation. It's speculation time. Welcome to Speculation Corner. I think in the next step, if not the next episode, then one following, we're going to see all of these events transpire from Monica's perspective. Because I think that's kind of a missing element right now, because she's pretty much a third party in this one. Everybody's looking for her, but it's from the perspective of Sword. And if anything, I can see them getting back to a little bit of the tension from Monica's perspective, because the world just kind of knows that she doesn't belong, as we saw with the neighbors in the previous episode. So her attempts to blend in, I think, could be really entertaining. If anything, I think that's just what this episode could have been. Like, I really didn't need everything from the perspective of people in Sword. I think that a lot of that could have been bypassed and just told through the perspective of Monica trying to navigate this world.
Yeah, if they would have, and who knows, maybe that will be when they do, because I do think they're going to go back to sitcom and there's going to be at least one more episode. They could have at least cross-cutted Monica's point of view than Sword's. But if you want to be more artistic, just have Monica like, what's going on? But who knows? Maybe this next episode that focuses on Sword, which I hope happens, and not just Sword and some WandaVision, where it'll open with her like waking up in Westview and trying to assume this identity as Geraldine, what she's doing while they're juggling with the pregnancy thing and all of that, and her trying to contact the outside world and all that fun stuff. It would add a lot more substance to it, because I agree, once Monica got sucked into the bubble, I was a lot less interested. a lot less interested, and I don't like being mean, but when I saw Kat Dennings, the only thought I had was, oh, cool, they brought a character back from a previous film that we haven't seen in a while. But you had to be
such unfortunately, like a C-list character. Like, not everything needs to tie into this universe. Just pull in anybody, and that's basically what happened here. It was just pulled in anybody.
Yeah, but you don't need to do the focus on them. Because half the episode was a focus on these characters, like, hey, yeah, we were from previous films.
It wasn't even focusing on them as characters. It was just focusing on them explaining what was going on. So, yeah, I think that's the greater disappointment, is that it's like all these people are here, not even really as people, but more as just tools to explain what's happening in the show, which I don't think, I mean, I think if I don't want to take it for granted that like every viewer is picking up on the same things, but the breadcrumbs that they leave are pretty substantial, that you could imagine, oh, Wanda's controlling this universe. Oh, there are outside forces interfering with this. So yeah, it was just kind of unnecessary. But anyway, we've mentioned that we're circling back around to the same points, which means it's probably about time we wrap this up.
Yeah. Lesson learned, continue mystery, continue like revealing things. Not even, they didn't even reveal slowly throughout the series, but if you just pull the curtain completely, it's not that great. Just keep stringing me along. But hopefully next week will be better. I hope that everyone else enjoyed this. If you really, really enjoyed it, or you think that we're douchebags and that we're wrong, comment, yell at us, like, subscribe, share, and tell us what other aspects we should concentrate on. Until next week, my name is Tony.
And I'm Dan.
Thank you for watching.
Whoa! That's our official sign off now.
Yes.